I just realized I'm kind of wearing the wrong outfit for the thing I wanted to talk about today. Well, this is a nice outfit, don't get me wrong. It's just, for the thing I wanted to talk about today, I probably should have been wearing green. Listen, you saw the title of the video, you know what it is I'm talking about, so let's get into it. Good morning and happy Thursday, everybody. Let's get to my low, my high, my act of kindness. What is my low? Well, I'm sure like many of you in the northern United States, I'm very well aware of the wildfires going on in Canada right now, and yeah, the air quality is pretty bad. In fact, my mother was so worried about that, she says that she doesn't want me going out anywhere unless I have a mask on. For real, I truly think like any major events going on this weekend might legit get canceled due to the air quality. I could totally see that happening. But if it happens, it is what it is. What's my high? Actually, before I get into it, let me, what is my high? Here's the thing. This item wasn't on my 2026 bucket list, so I couldn't add it on. But I did actually go to the first night that Pick's Pub ever had live music. It was actually really good. Shout out to the artist in question. Of course, again, because unfortunately I got there really late anyway, so I didn't really get a chance to see much. And on top of that, the performances were outside where, again, the air quality isn't really good, so I was a little worried about staying outside for too long. But everything I heard and saw was very good, so that was really nice. And what's my act of kindness? Let's see. I gave somebody directions yesterday. I held the door for some people. And that's actually about it. So I meant to talk about this for a little while. And I wanted to be honest, I'm still not entirely sure if this is the right time to talk about this, but I don't know when that time will be. I could always revisit this at some point. So for those of you who would probably be too young to know this, but once upon a time, arguably the best video game system out there was the Nintendo 64. And you had games like Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, Star Fox 64, a lot of 64s, Kirby 64, Pokemon Stadium, Super Smash Brothers, all great games. The first Paper Mario game, many of them great games in their own right. However, in 1998, I believe, there was one game that many could make the argument was not only the best game in the N64, but one of the greatest video games of all time, called The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Now, my experience with this game, I'll come clean with you. I didn't play it. I did, however, watch my brother and my cousin play it. So, yeah. And I've seen various Let's Plays from people like Nella. Shout out to Nella. And honestly, listen, if you want to see a funny playthrough of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, watch Brain Scratch commentary on it. It's one of their very best. In fact, I just watched it recently and it still holds up too. Shout out to Brain Scratch commentaries. And to give you an idea just of how popular this game was and how big of an impact this game had in the gaming community, every single system that's ever come out after the N64 they've made a port for Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So there's a version of it you can play on the GameCube. There's a version you can play on the Wii and the Wii U, the Switch. You know, this is one example of a game that is never going anywhere. And, I mean, it's easy to see why. You know, it's a fairly straightforward story, albeit for one major problem, which I'll get into a little bit later and maybe in a short. It's your classic hero versus villain story. And it's one of the few times where I could genuinely tell you that time travel, for as complicated as a plot device as it can be in fiction, is used fairly good here. I mean, I've said this before, the greatest video game, actually the greatest anything I've seen utilizing time travel as a plot device is Crash Bandicoot 3. And while, again, Ocarina of Time has its fair share of, has a major problem involving time travel, it doesn't, you know, take away from how great of a game it is. I bring this up because they are remaking the game. Now, when I say remake, there's a couple ways you could go about thinking it. For example, technically, they remade Ocarina of Time for the 3DS, which really all they did was, you know, upgrade some of the character models to make it look a little bit more like, I guess it did kind of borrow from anime style looks, kind of like what Xenoblade Chronicles used to do before they gave the definitive version better looks. Stuff like that. Like, this is going to be a full-on remake. Like, the teaser trailer for the reveal had voice acting in it. And, listen, here's the thing. Voice acting in video games really is nothing new. Hello, Kingdom Hearts. But you never get to see it in any Nintendo games, if ever. I mean, except for, again, anything Legends of Zelda related. Hence why, you know, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and such. And it looks like they're doing that for the remake of Ocarina of Time. And from what I've learned, and from what I think might happen, everything that Ocarina of Time should have been is going to be in this remake. Let me explain. Believe it or not, the very same people who were working on Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time were also working on Mario 64. In fact, it's why Mario 64 is very puzzle heavy, if you can believe it. In fact, the original plan for the game was also going to take place inside of, you know, Ganondorf, the main villain's castle, much in the same way Super Mario 64 pretty much takes place, entirely in a castle. And a lot of, you know, great ideas, you know, different, like, items and dungeons, like, all got scrapped because, well, for a few reasons. One, Ocarina of Time is already a fairly long game for its time, even by today's standards. But also, I mean, it was the N64. You really could only do so much at that time. But, you know, technology's gotten a lot better. Story writing and storytelling has become better. And, I mean, come on. It's The Legend of Zelda. You know, it's one of the greatest video game franchises ever. You know, it is one of Nintendo's big moneymakers, right alongside Mario and Pokemon. Like, it is the game series that gets fans excited to hear that a new game is coming out. Like, seriously, I would say from Ocarina of Time onward, every single Zelda game, every major Zelda game that's come out, has been, it's pretty much been an event. Like, It was big when Majora's Mask came out. It was a huge event when Twilight Princess came out. It was a really huge thing when Wind Waker came out. Really big thing when Skyward Sword came out. I still remember the trailer. I still remember seeing the trailer for Skyward Sword. So needless to say, Legend of Zelda is a franchise that's not going anywhere. I mean, think about it. This is a property that Nintendo cares so much about that Breath of the Wild was probably delayed for like another 6 years or something along those lines, just because they really wanted to make sure the game could be as great as it could possibly be. And good Lord, did they pull it off. But that's a story for another day. I think with the popularity of how Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were, as well as the fact that the Switch 2 right now is really popular, you know, with games like, you know, Pokemon Champions and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Having a Zelda game of great magnitude, we're due. But a remake of Ocarina of Time, I'm almost positive every single Zelda fan that's ever existed, that's still alive, is going to want to play this game. Which actually kind of makes me feel sad that Robin Williams is dead. Oh yeah, the legendary actor and comedian Robin Williams, he was a huge Legends of Zelda fan. So much so, he named his daughter after the princess. Yes, Zelda Williams is named after Princess Zelda. Fun fact for you. So the fact they're remaking Ocarina of Time and remaking it into the game it should have been all those years ago, that's exciting. It almost makes me want to get a Switch 2 and play it for that reason. Now, here's the thing. Actually, before I do anything, let me just look up one quick thing. I want to make sure I do this right. Oh. I'll make sure I look this up correctly. Hold on. I really want to make sure I do this correctly. And, okay. I'm going to have to just look up an image to see what I'm looking for. Because I really want to make sure I do this right. Okay. Okay, so I mentioned that The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is considered by many the greatest game ever made, which still holds up, with one major problem. And it's something I alluded to earlier involving, because if you've ever seen the official Legends of Zelda timeline, it's, let me get this correctly, you have the creation of the world, you have Skyward Sword, the Minish Cap, Four Swords, and then Ocarina of Time, chronologically. That was when these games take place. Upon the events of, now, obviously, there have been many Zelda games that have come before and after. You know, there's lots of Zelda games. See, the folks at Nintendo thought it'd be really neat if they could actually fit every single possible Zelda game in the timeline. When you get to Ocarina of Time, it's when the timeline splits up into not one, not two, but three different possibilities. There is the fallen hero, which, for whatever reason, Ganondorf actually wins in Ocarina of Time, which would be Link to the Past, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, Link's Awakening, Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, the original Legend of Zelda game way back in the 1980s, and The Adventure of Link. Now, that's actually a timeline I don't really subscribe to because it's implied, like, why would you want the hero to lose? Come on, that doesn't make any sense. There's also the missing hero, and this is where we get into spoilers. At the end of Ocarina of Time, when Link is an adult, Zelda, and the rest of the 6 stages imprison Ganondorf in the evil realm. And at the end of Ocarina of Time, the adult Link goes back to the child timeline. Now, with that scenario, you have 2 different timelines. And stay with me, I swear I'm going to try and make this as much sense as possible. See, in the era where Ganondorf was imprisoned in the evil realm, eventually the seal wears off and he escapes. With no hero to stop him, Ganondorf takes over the world. And in that timeline, you have the Wind Waker, you have the Phantom Hourglass, and you have the Spirit Tracks, which does have a satisfying ending, with Spirit Tracks. So there you go. Now, with all that said, that's actually not a timeline I subscribe to either. Which means the last possible timeline, the child timeline, when Link goes back into the past and continues his life as he normally would have, that's the timeline I personally subscribe to. Because in that timeline, it's Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Four Swords Adventures. That's actually what I think is the proper timeline to follow. Because at the end of the day, when you begin playing Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, you start out with Link as a child. So it only makes sense that you follow Link into adulthood the proper way. See, in Ocarina of Time, once Link picks up the Master Sword as a child, he's technically worthy, but not worthy yet. So after he picks up the sword, he's in suspended animation for 7 years, but he ages in that time as well. It's weird. Like, he sleeps for 7 years, but it's implied like he's kind of in suspended animation, but he also ages 7 years. For reference, Link is 9 years old at the beginning of Ocarina of Time. And in the quote-unquote adult timeline, he's really 16. So, the child timeline, the 9-year-old Link, that's the one I subscribe to. And if you're wondering, unfortunately, the people at Nintendo wrote themselves in a huge corner. They painted themselves in a corner. Because, what do you do with Breath of the Wild and then later Tears of the Kingdom? Have those games take so far into the distant future that none of those timelines matter anymore. Yeah. Personally, I think that's my one hope for the remake of Ocarina of Time that they're proposing. Like, there's got to be some kind of a way to bring everything together. I don't think Nintendo's actually going to pull it off. But it really would be cool if they did. I really am looking forward to seeing what this remake entails. And there's actually another reason why I want to talk about this today. Because Chucker Conroy is about to announce what his next Let's Play is going to be. And listen, he's not going to do Ocarina of Time, especially with the remake coming out in the near future. So I don't want him to do it yet. Full stop, however, after Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time was the next game I wanted him to play. But again, I'm willing to wait. Here's the thing though. After the Nintendo Direct, where they announced the remake of Ocarina of Time, among other things, in the next year, Charter Conroy actually wound up changing his plans for what games he wants to Let's Play. Which means Charter Conroy playing Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time might happen even sooner than I thought. Of course, I'm almost convinced right now the next game he's going to do is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Of course. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out later, won't we? Hope you like this video. If you like, subscribe to the channel, follow social media. As always, I'm your homie. This video for all of you guys watching. Joe, hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And if you guys want to talk to us, we're here to let news back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.